Whilst any of the 12 available weapon martial arts in Where Winds Meet is a fantastic option, it does already feel like there are some that stand out above others, or at least they just feel really good and are very versatile. One of these is for sure the Strategic Sword. It is incredibly powerful, a very dynamic martial art, giving you a fast and fluid moveset with great agility and mobility, as well as really good DPS with very strong bleed damage over time. The base weapon martial art by itself is already excellent. If we supplement it further with some specific inner ways, we can create a build that will take it from excellent to absolutely top tier. I'm going to be making plenty of Where Winds Meet content like this, and I do this for loads of other games too, so if builds and guides are your thing, drop me a sub, but let's not waste any time in maximizing your Strategic Sword OP-ness. I'm going to revolve this build around the Strategic Sword martial art by itself, so you can of course use this in conjunction with the Heavenquake Spear. Personally, I'm using the Panacea Fan as my second choice because it's just such a great option to heal myself with and provide that additional support in group scenarios. I'm also going to be exclusively focused on the inner way choices rather than the gear, which is going to be constantly getting swapped out as the level limits get lifted, etc. So try not to pay too much attention to the individual gear choices, that's going to constantly change. I am assuming you already do have the Strategic Sword if you are watching this video. However, if you haven't, just track it from your menu, go find the Strategic Sword Sanctum, use one of your dragon keys to open up the instance that you have to stealth through, make your way through, pick up all the chests that you can, and then when you get to the vantage point, perform the skill theft minigame to mimic the master and learn the Strategic Sword martial art. The first and most important inner way in this setup is the Sword Horizon Strategic Sword specific inner way, which fundamentally transforms the weapon's entire moveset, allowing you to perform an additional input after the martial art skill, the special skill, or your charged skill, casting a move called Crisscrossing Swords as a powerful flashy follow-up finisher. It has the properties of your special skill in that if your target has 5 stacks of bleed, it'll remove all of them to deal high bleed damage all at once. This is absolutely crazy because effectively you have 3 combos that have been boosted with an additional move, all of which are capable of doing what your special skill alone could do before, which is to explode all of the bleed stacks. You are now going to be constantly proccing the 5 bleed explosion. Not to mention that the additional move is very powerful by itself anyhow. In order to obtain the Sword Horizon inner way, you need to make your way over to the Ghostlight Market. You can do so by entering the coffin at nighttime in the southeast section of Kaifeng. Make your way through the market until you arrive at the antique bookstore, the Buried Tomes. You can't really miss it, the shopkeeper is sitting upside down on the ceiling. Each of the unknown old books has a chance to be a Sword Horizon page, of which you're going to need 10. You might not need to buy all 30 of them, but I did, so do be prepared to spend 375 big ones. Next, we've got another legendary inner way. We're going for Morale Chant, which gives you an 80% chance whenever you are attacking or healing to get 1 stack of Yi River, increasing your damage and healing by 1% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. You can only proc it once every 2 seconds, and at tier 1, which we're going to upgrade it to, it will also increase your physical penetration by 2. Whilst a 5% damage and healing increase with 2 physical pen might not sound like much, it really adds up. Super simple to get, just find the merchant Tang Bao in Blissful Retreat. Once it's destroyed, he's just right by the gate, selling you the Morale Chant tomes for 500 Jade Echoes each, of which you'll need 10, costing you 5,000, unlocking the inner way there and then. For the breakthrough pages, teleport to the Harbour Link Crossing waypoint, found towards the east of the Kaifeng region. He'll be right there selling them for 200 Jade Echoes a pop, costing you 2,000 for the whole lot, letting you break it through to tier 1 for that 2 damage pen. The third one is the last of the compulsory inner way choices for this build setup. Bitter Seasons gives you a 10% chance upon dealing damage to apply poison for 5 seconds, inflicting a damage over time per second on the enemy, but also very importantly reducing their physical defense by 0.6%, I believe it is at default, for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times, the duration being refreshed upon adding a new stack. I had enough of the pages to break it through to tier 1, which increased the physical defense reduction to 1.2% per stack, giving me a 6% physical defense reduction on enemies for 10 seconds at 5 stacks. That's super good, and you've also got the damage over time ticking away too. To obtain it, you're going to need to defeat the Void King boss, the unknown mysterious Colossus. A fun questline and boss, play it all the way through and you'll get it from a chest at the end. And for the fourth and final inner way, it's a bit of a wild card. You can kind of put in whatever you like, be it something appropriate for your second weapon with your Heavenquake Spear or your Panacea Fan or whatever else you're using. I've mixed and matched a bunch of things like Battle Anthem to increase the charged skills damage versus bosses by 10%. I've of course tried Adaptive Steel to give me a 10% chance upon dealing affinity damage to get extra bleeds on my attacks. However, my chance to deal affinity damage is like 2%, so that's not really a big deal. I'm not really fussed on 10% of 2%. That's why this one's so open. It's very dependent on other variables. Really, you can do what you want with it. And that is everything that you need to make the build. Again, I'm not really focused on the gear here. We're going to be swapping that out constantly, but do of course go out of your way to try and maximize your physical damage, your bell strike damage, etc. In terms of how you're going to implement your combos and movesets, everything kind of changes because of Sword Horizon. You no longer have a set rotation where you use your first skill to apply the 5 bleeds, and then the second skill to jump back and explode them all in one go. Every move can apply the bleeds and every move can explode them. So you can kind of just go through everything and constantly put bleeds on, constantly get the high bleed explosion. All of your abilities have an additional flashy follow-up finisher, holy Fs, for loads of additional damage. Morale Chant is going to be constantly activating, giving you additional damage and some damage penetration. And of course, you're going to be putting stacks of poison for damage over time and physical defense reduction on your opponents too. This is going to be very effective for high DPS and will make you invaluable to any groups that you play in. It is a total boss melter. It will go through regular mobs like nothing. I know I said kind of do whatever with your rotations, but you can try doing your charged heavy attack first. A high damage gap closing move that's going to apply 5 stacks of bleed and then rip them away with a follow-up as well, which you can then go into with your first skill to apply another 5 stacks of bleed, do the follow-up again to rip them off, and then do your special skill to jump back, put another 5 stacks on, and then explode those too with a damaging follow-up input. That's under perfect conditions when you're able to do all of this smoothly without a hitch. It might not always be like that. It might not be the most efficient. You may not always get 5 stacks of bleed to immediately rip off. That is absolutely fine, don't worry. There will also for sure be ways that you can implement various mystic skills to have good synergy with your strategic sword movesets. But let's not overcomplicate things. Let's not run before we can walk. This build setup around strategic sword in isolation with these 3 inner ways is going to seriously see you through. Give it a spin, let me know what you think, and if you're going to be using it with Heaven Quaker Spear, or maybe something else like Dual Blades, I don't know, whatever you're trying, and let me know what you've gone for your 4th choice of inner way in this build. It'll be super interesting to see where everyone's at. I'm super keen on throwing something together for Mortal Rope Dart, for the Twin Blades, and for Thunder Cry Blade as well. Not to mention really doubling down as a healer with the Panacea Fan and the Soul Shade Umbrella. I think we could do some really fun things with that too. I am planning on doing an absolute ton of these builds. You might have caught some of my other stuff with Monster Hunter Wilds or Expedition 33. I really enjoy doing these types of videos, so if builds and guides are your thing, drop me a sub. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.